Hello. I am an explorer. Is anyone else here an explorer? A few people, fantastic. By the end of this short talk, I hope that I'll be seeing far more hands in the air. So you can consider this to be a bit of a training session in some ways. So humans have always been incredible at exploring. In fact, exploration is part of us in many ways. From when we were first fish, crawling out of the oceans and able to breathe, through to humanity, through ancient times, traveling possibly over 100,000 years from the Horn of Africa to the southern tip of Southern America, we have always explored. And I'm excited by all the exploration that's taking place in the world today. In my country, Britain, scouting groups, community organisations are fantastic at getting children exploring, playing, and learning outdoors. But I'm concerned. I'm concerned because I think we're limiting ourselves as individuals and as humanity because we have a restrictive and reductionist view of what it means to be an explorer. And certainly in many Western countries, we're not giving children the right opportunities to explore, play, and learn outdoors. So, what is an explorer? If I asked you to think for a moment, who would you say were some of the greatest explorers of all time? Marco Polo? Christopher Columbus? Ernest Shackleton, maybe? Genghis Khan, a bit of a controversial one. So we can all think of explorers, but I want to tell a story of a particular explorer. And her name is Asta. She was at the time 16 years old and from Eritrea. And she was persecuted because of her minority religion. Asta isn't her real name. I can't tell you her real name. And because she feared for her life, she fled directly west with her elderly mother and younger brother. They reached the desert in Sudan, and they headed north towards Libya. And during that crossing of the desert, both her elderly mother and her brother died. She reached the coast, she traveled across the Mediterranean illegally to Italy, and then she traveled overland by any means to reach the United Kingdom. There, she was detained by the UK border agency, and still, a few years later, she's still waiting to find out whether she's been granted asylum. In my mind, Asta is one of the greatest explorers of all time. If a white 30-something-year-old man with a beard was to make the same journey the other direction, surely they would make the news. There may even be a Hollywood blockbuster made about it. Swallows that for thousands of years have crossed the Sahara on an annual basis have documentaries made about them. But Asta? No. So this makes me think, who is an explorer? Would I be an explorer if I was to travel to the distant stars? Would I be an explorer if I was to try and walk the length of Madagascar, the world's 4th largest island? I tried, and I failed. Would I be an explorer if I was to walk across Mexico City, one of the largest cities on the planet, taking a photograph every 8 steps? I tried, and I succeeded. Would my son be an explorer if he was to try and dig a hole to Australia? He tried, and believe it or not, he failed, we think. Would my son be an explorer if he was to search under our bed for a lost cat? He's tried and succeeded many times. And my answer to all of those questions is undoubtedly yes. They are all explorations. They are all about exploring. And for me, exploring is very simple. It's about finding stuff. It's about asking questions and searching for answers. Sometimes you set out on an exploration and you don't know what you're going to find. Exploration is of vital importance. It can be of real places, like forests. It can be of imagined places, inside books. But exploration doesn't need to be for the first giant squid or a complex cure for cancer. It can be for much simpler things too. Where's the best place to go to university? Where's the best place to go on your first date? Where's the best place to sit in a cinema? Where's the best place to find a loved one or a place to die? These are all relevant and important explorations that I think everyone here will be able to relate to in some way. So I'd like us now just to stop. I don't think we stop and look around nearly enough. The late geographer Duncan Fuller made the argument that much like we eat fast food, we're fast explorers, we're fast walkers. We put in our headphones, we go from A to B, and we don't really communicate. We don't look up at the top of buildings or down through the basements. We don't show enough interest. And I think that needs to change. So here comes a bit of explorer training for you. We're going to do an exploration now that I'm going to call a geostationary exploration. And that's because you're not going to have to go anywhere, okay? So what I'd like you to do is just look to the person sitting next to you. Pick anyone you like, maybe make a bit of eye contact. And I'd like you to pick a part of their body and have a look. Have you picked your favourite part of the body? Or maybe a part that you're slightly disgusted by and you're just curious about? What would you like to do in this place? Smell it? Sniff it? Clearly, you may think that this exploration is inappropriate. Maybe just a tease, maybe a conversation starter for later. But the point that it makes is that you don't have to be what people normally think of as National Geographic explorers, going off to distant, exotic, crazy places and risking death to explore. We can explore now in our seats where we are. And what this makes me think about is children again. Because, yes, it's really important to have gigantic scientific discoveries that show us new things about the world. But if you're 8, if you're 9, if you're your age, then actually there's discoveries that we make every day which are just, if not more, important. It has been scientifically proven that outdoor play, exploration, and creativity are linked. We need to provide more opportunities for children to access these things. And for me, a crucial component of that is critical thinking. Not just accepting things the way they are. And I've got 2 sort of examples of how this can be done. One is called a polar exploration. And again, normally when we think of polar explorers, we think of men with beards going to the far north and the far south of the planet, quite possibly not coming back, certainly losing fingers from frostbite. But polar simply means an extreme, and polarization simply means the difference between 2 extremes. So we can become polar explorers by going from the most to least wild place in a city, or going from the most to least populated place, or most to least dangerous or unhealthy. All of us today can go out and become polar explorers. Another idea is that of being a circumnavigator, quite often a sailor traveling all the way around the planet. Very exciting. I'd love to do that myself. But we can become circumnavigators too, by walking around our bed, or our bedroom, or our house, or our park, or our city. And doing a circumnavigation is a fascinating thing to do because it forces you to think about what's in the margins, what's in the periphery, what gets lost at the edges, and to question why it is that those things are at the edges, and how policy can change to think about those people and include them in some way. And there are many examples of how this can work. The way in which we design our hotels. How do we design our cities, our social housing? What do we put at the center? What's at the edges? What's most important to us? What's closest to the heart? And of course, this is a deeply political idea, to explore places where people wouldn't necessarily want you to explore. Deeply political. Which is coincidental, because I think we're currently going through an exploration revolution. Not only because technology is allowing us to travel in ways that we've never thought of before, or map places in a way that we've never thought of before, or plan and share our explorations, but because they're becoming more democratized, collaborative, and open too, something that I think is phenomenally exciting. But in what National Geographic calls the new age of exploration, I question whether we're preparing young people as the new age of explorers. A big part of my work is with a team on a project called Mission Explore. And the sole aim of the Mission Explore project is to increase the number of children who are exploring, playing, and learning outdoors. We're a team of geographers, explorers, artists, academics, therapists, all working with the same aim. And we do this by inspiring young people to explore, by supporting them, their parents, and the teachers to help those explorations take place. And crucially, and maybe something slightly unexpected, to give permission. Maybe something that's even more important for adults, to have permission to play. And we do this through quirky missions, challenges, and they appear within our books and on our website. This particular illustration by a wonderful artist, Mr. Tom Morgan-Jones, represents a challenge to investigate the murder of an animal. Highly controversial, but philosophically, can you murder an animal? To try and cross a wood without touching the ground. To go to your local paint shop and get one of those fobs of paint colours with lots of synthetic colour names on it and try and find things in nature that match the colours. I wouldn't recommend doing it with a baboon on heat, but you could try. To freeze every time a man with a beard looks at you. I've personally authorised this mission, so. And it was working on the first 3 books that we realised that actually, within this effort to engage more young people in outdoor play and exploration, that 3 big issues were coming up. One was that in many Western countries, too few children are accessing quality nature time. Another one was that they weren't getting enough exercise. And finally, that their diet, actually, for many young people, just simply isn't good enough, and that's partially down to education. So we created a new book called Mission Explore Food, and Mission Explore Food is completely free to download from the internet. And just 3 of the challenges are these. For example, foraging for blackberries in hoodies maybe, and giving them to passers-by. Researching the best way to slaughter a lamb. If you're going to eat it, right? Or researching which type of fish are sustainable to eat and which types of fish are not. And so I think what you can take from those 3 quite controversial challenges that we ask even quite young people to explore is that we want children to think critically about how the world influences them, but also about how they influence the world. To think about that connection and those interdependencies. So we do this through a series of books, but we also have a cutting-edge social gaming network that allows children and families and schools to find hundreds of these activities to do for free online. So I'd like you to leave you with one final thought. Exploration is about asking questions and searching for answers. It's a frame of mind. And if I say now, who now would consider themselves to be an explorer? Oh, wow, that's just an incredible success rate. The final thought I'd like to leave you on really is this, that without exploration, there is no discovery. So surely there's no better argument in the world to think that we need to spend more time and investment in educating our young people in how to explore in the widest sense. Thank you.